As a country that will be taking over the chairmanship of COMESA, we as Swaziland are actually looking at how COMESA could use science and technology to harness development, because we recognize that science and technology actually is the backbone of development in the world over. So we have thought that in the wisdom of His Majesty, he thought that he would like to drive this particular initiative for COMESA during his tenure as the chairman of the big institution.
All right, with science and technology being a central theme to the COMESA summit and a central feature of the work that Swaziland's going to be doing during the course of the year, what's going to be done to move the focus of science and technology beyond ICT, because that's really where the most vibrant investments and mergers and acquisitions have been? One
of the key things that we've recognized, as member countries, and in fact for Africa world over, is that we have actually allowed science and technology to be led by the West, as it were, and we've been following through. So one of the things that we are hoping to do in our time as chairs of the COMESA regional grouping is to try and see what we can do to bring science and technology alive into our countries. And what do I mean by that? I mean we are looking at opportunities where we can actually get the skills transferred into our region, and if we can get some of the manufacturing, some of the intellectual property beginning to belong in our region. So we are hoping that during our tenure we'll be able to do something to that effect and be able to implement something that we can say it's truly COMESA, it's truly African, and it is owned and it's resident and manufactured in our region.
What's being done about creating free trade areas and just a free flow of goods amongst these various bodies?
This is actually one of the key things that you get benefits from by belonging to a regional grouping. COMESA is one of the biggest regional groupings that exist in our continent, and what the regional grouping provides for, a uniform way of doing things, and it provides for opening up of a market and more or less providing legislation that is similar, and therefore translating to ways of doing business that become similar. So it becomes like one big country, as it were, versus small little sections. So we become like smaller little districts within a bigger institution. So the purpose of belonging into a regional grouping like COMESA, like SADC and EAC, is to be able to say, let's leverage the benefits of our neighbors who maybe have done better in this, and we may have done better in other areas, and we begin to learn from each other. Because what we recognize is that you cannot be a master of all, but we need each other within the region. So we have said, if we're working together, maybe in our policies, in our programs, we would be able to say, okay, we would like you, for example, Swaziland, you must be a master at this, you must have the intellectual property, and you must have the expertise in this area, whereas us as Zambia in the same regional grouping will be masters in another area, and therefore that begins to make us a bigger market that has got everything that is needed by anyone who would want to trade with our region.
Preceding the summit in August will be the 6th COMESA Business Forum, which will also be taking place in Swaziland. 400 business leaders converging on Swaziland. What central issues do you want to engage with them?
They'll be talking about the theme itself. So they'll be talking about what can they do in terms of science, what can they do in terms of technology, where are we lagging behind as a region? Because business leaders are doing business in our region, but they are also selling to externally. So they are beginning to understand their competitors who are outside of our region, what they want. So business leaders will be pushing us as the COMESA unit to say, COMESA, you need to make this happen for us to be able to make business happen in the region. So we're hoping that as they come together and they talk about the science and technology, they'll be able to come up with particular themes or particular programs that they are going to be asking us as governments in COMESA to go out and see what can we do legislatively, what can we do in terms of relationships that we are building with the external parties, what can we do to just facilitate trade in our region. So they'll be driving us and telling us what are the challenges and what they propose should be the responses to those challenges.
Now, in a 2009 survey, business within COMESA argued for the ratification of double taxation treaties, because often they're domiciled in one country, paying tax in that country, operating in another country and paying taxes there. What's going to be done by Swaziland in terms of lobbying very strongly for this issue to be on the agenda and for it to be dealt with?
Well, actually, that is definitely one of the key issues that our members are crying out for, in the business and our communities are crying out for. And we have come up as COMESA with what we are calling a common investment area, where we are trying to create an opportunity where exactly that situation doesn't arise. And we are hoping that during this upcoming summit, we as Swaziland would be able to open it up for signature in this summit. So if we are able to start it up now and then begin to implement it throughout the course of our year, for our tenure, we would have succeeded in achieving one of the key things that is a challenge for our membership. So yes, there is something that we're doing as COMESA, and it is up for discussion in this upcoming summit.
Companies are also asking COMESA to create some sort of a credit facility or a trade finance facility that will enable entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, but more than that, that will facilitate cross-border trade in a more affordable way.
This is absolutely true. It's actually already in existence through the PTA Bank of COMESA, and in last year alone, they were able to finance over $1.4 billion in terms of facilitating financing for our investors. But over and above that, what we need to understand is that a regional grouping such as this, its purpose is really to facilitate trade and to remove barriers to trade. So any issue that comes up as a barrier to trade, it actually becomes the objective of this of a regional grouping to address those. So we continually are addressing those type of issues as they come up and as they become issues for our investors.
Now, the World Bank and many others who've studied Africa see infrastructure shortages as the biggest impediment to investment and doing business in Africa, almost adding 40% to the costs of doing business. To what extent is infrastructure going to feature as a rallying call that Swaziland will lead during its tenure as COMESA chair?
It's absolutely very key. In fact, for us as the entire COMESA region, we actually have a unit where we are looking at just infrastructure because we understand the importance of it in terms of facilitating trade. So we actually have a couple of programs within COMESA already in operation, and we have more that are still to be implemented. For example, you know, we are doing the North-South Corridor program where we are looking at how can we make sure that we can move goods all the way from the north as far as Egypt, where our membership spans, all the way down to Swaziland. What can we do to have a corridor that makes sure that we can trade in that region? Over and above that, we're doing one-stop border posts in several regions where we're saying there's a lot of interaction that's going on between these countries or between these regions. Let's have a one-stop border post where it is easier to move goods from one area to the next. So there's a lot of those initiatives that we understand need to be implemented. Some are already on course, some are still to be drafted, to be developed. But it is one of the key things that we understand. If we don't get that right, we're not going to get trade going in our region.
Now, the COMESA Summit provides Swaziland as a country with an opportunity to profile itself. How are you going to leverage the various business opportunities within Swaziland and let them coincide with the promotion of COMESA issues as well?
This is absolutely a great opportunity for us as a kingdom of Swaziland because, one, first of all, we understand that the world doesn't actually know us as much because we are sometimes understood to be a small little region within South Africa. But it's an opportunity for us to say who we are, that we are a country that is you know, independent and that is there to do business. Over and above that, what we have done is we've synchronized this summit with some of the key things that go on in our country during this time. So we are going to be having one of the biggest cultural events, which is called Umhlanga, or the Reed Dance, happening just before the summit starts. So this gives an opportunity for all our visitors from the 19 member countries to come and see what Swaziland has to offer in terms of cultural tourism. And then over and above that, we are going to be hosting the International Trade Fair during the same time. So we're having participation not just from the COMESA member states, but also from international participants during the same time. So that opportunity will then will give Swaziland an opportunity to be known that it exists, and it will be an opportunity for them to see what can be done. And traders will be able to expose their product to the 19 member states, and they'll be able to look at opportunities of investment within Swaziland. We're looking at this as a great opportunity for us to market ourselves.
Swaziland is often seen as a small province of South Africa as opposed to an independent country. So this is an opportunity to showcase what the country has to offer as a sovereign state. And a lot has been done by way of investing in rail systems, which work really well in Swaziland, also in creating a dry port, and also in having industrial sites. So these are things that investors could try to feed off of as they do business across the regions. Swaziland also has very close proximity to the port of Maputo and also the port of Richards Bay and that of Durban, just in terms of showcasing the efficiency of industrial networks for investment. How are you going to utilize this opportunity?
We're doing a lot of that in terms of infrastructure development. You know, we've got a big program in terms of developing just general infrastructure. Over and above that, we are investing in our people and in the labor force, because we understand as a small country, there's not much that maybe you could say you could play on. But if we make sure that our skill base is strong enough to attract an investor who would be able to say, if I put my investment here, I'd be able to get, you know, my returns, and they'd be productive. So we are privileged to have already in existence some major companies working within Swaziland, and then therefore now we're going to use this opportunity to market them and market the other opportunities that could arise if you were to come and set up shop in Swaziland. So we're hoping, yes, as the investors come, they'll meet us, they'll see that we are people that can be able to make a difference, they'll see what we have done already, and they'll be able to think differently about us. We're beginning to see the fruits of that, and we're believing the summit and the chairmanship of COMESA will raise our profile even further.